I started performing my pieces more and more, and it's what I love doing. Some of my earliest influences really would be in my family. My grandmother, who we called Beba, and she would play for silent movies, piano, and then she would also accompany my grandfather while he sang Portuguese songs. We all would gather and listen to her play. I'd say that was probably one of my earliest tastes of music, hearing her play what they call the danza form, Puerto Rican form of music. From there, I'd go to my brother Mario, who was probably my biggest influence to get into music because he started on guitar, and he was in rock and roll groups when he was 9, and I wanted to enjoy music just as much as I saw him enjoying it. So I started up piano, played in Mario's groups, and played Mario's music for quite some time. That's what got me interested in electronics and synthesizers. I saw a synthesizer on the cover of Contemporary Keyboard magazine. I used to cut out centerfolds of keyboards. All the other boys did cars and girls, I did keyboards. I took a real liking to electronics, and I tried to emulate what I had learned in the orchestras that I'd played in the work that I did in the studio. I went, the first session I did with Don was on the song Wheel Me Out, and it was a dance tune. Don taught me to be an open book in music, a melting pot, you know. Nothing was out of bounds. There were no real parameters that were stuck. There were no labels. And we mixed jazz with funk, with the classical that I brought in, with rock and roll. I suppose Latin as well, from my background. But it was a great time with Don. We'd hit the midnight shift. We'd work through the night. He taught me a lot about what music should be, if you ask me. When you do session work and when you're working with artists, I think that's probably one of my fortes, is to kind of stay out of the way of their vision, you know. And I think sometimes people have a tendency to want to kind of put their stamp on things, and fortunately, I never had that interest. You know, I really like kind of being invisible in this, seeing what's happening in the room and kind of feeding off it, and I love doing that. I had a lot of practice doing it. All these sessions in Detroit and going in every day and going, what's on the plate today? And sometimes it was great, sometimes there was nothing, you know, but you know, to be able to cross with Bootsy Collins, with George Clinton, with you know, the funk of Detroit, and the rock and roll with Patty, and the melting pot of Was Not Was, it gave me a lot of things to draw off of. I mean, Marshall, he's in the hip-hop scene, and I'd say that a big crossing point for Marshall and I was the orchestral aspect of things that I would bring to his picture, you know, because I tend to gravitate towards orchestral sounds. I've been writing for the last 20 some odd years, and the last 5 years I've focused on getting it recorded and the approach to it. And I find myself mixing a lot of the stuff I grew up with, you know, rock and roll, mixed with pop lyric, mixed with jazz, Latin underpinning on it, and an orchestral sense to it as well. There's some musicians who have taken part in this history of it that I've been accessing at various points in my career, and it's been kind of put on the back burner for Patty, for Don, for Highwaymen, all Iggy Pop, all worthwhile musical ventures that I wouldn't pass up for the world. But I've had these ideas forever, and so I had some time. Old friend of mine, great, phenomenal acoustic bassist, electric bassist, Paul Nowinski. Worked with Keith Richards, Les Paul. Dear friend. I hooked back up with him. We brought this friend of ours, Keith LeBlanc. He was part of the original Sugar Hill Gang session band. Some of the forefathers of hip hop. My brother Mario, who I've been working with since birth, he was there on guitar, percussion, vocals. Herschel Boone, a vocalist extraordinaire, just wonderful voice. We started performing around. It was extremely satisfying, continues to be. We recorded a CD of mine, One Small Life.